So if we go back to the main slide, we've talked a little bit about business structure. Literally think about this as like a platform, a foundation of your business, because it is the foundation of your business. Visually think about it as a foundation, whether it's a big wood block, something that looks like a foundation in your mind. If you think about your business itself, in my mind, when I think about the businesses that I serve, they look like a bunch of machinery to me. Like, I'm a very visual person. And so it looks like machinery, nuts and bolts and gears and moving parts, right? Picture that machinery sitting now on top of that business foundation. That machinery, the day-to-day operations, all those moving parts, those are protected by your business contracts, right? So in bucket number 2, which you can see is a big bucket, I spend quite a bit of time inside of this bucket with my clients, and Sean can probably attest to this, right? I tell people any exchange of value in your business should be covered by a business contract, some kind of contract that covers whether it's your services, delivery of a workshop, a JV scenario, maybe you launch an affiliate program, maybe you bring vendors into your business to help support you with certain things, maybe you hire independent contractors, right? Maybe you joined a mastermind and you want to share some ideas and get feedback in the mastermind, but you don't want anybody to take your ideas, which, by the way, happens all the time. So each of these are an exchange of value. You should probably have a legal contract in place that covers what exactly is happening in that scenario. Understand, and a lot of people feel like, especially if they're kind of new to the contracts world, they're getting their feet under them in their business, they start to feel a little bit like contracts are fences, right? Anybody heard the phrase, good fences make for good neighbors? It's a little bit true. They're not fences. I like to think of contracts as containers, right? They're really a container for the relationship. They help guide and support that relationship, whether it's a client relationship, a peer-to-peer relationship, a collaboration type of relationship. It's really about providing clarity. How many of you, I went through a training, I studied for years in law school, and then since law school, alternative dispute resolution. And I went to the program on negotiation at Harvard Law with the folks that wrote the book, Difficult Conversations. I'm going to type it into the chat. How many of you have ever read Difficult Conversations, or Getting to Yes, Getting Past No? Anybody? Type yes if you've heard of that book series. Yeah, I see some nodding heads. Kay says yes, exactly. Phenomenal book. Janet says yes, great book. Difficult Conversations is my favorite, and I did an advanced negotiations training with them that lasted a week. It was literally like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or sometimes even 10 p.m. It was like all day. I was exhausted by the end of the week, but it was like such a good week. In that, and it was one of the earliest parts of that training. And these are people that, by the way, have been flown around the world and dropped into the middle of some of the most intense international disputes to help resolve and deflate those conflicts. They showed a training where they've got a basketball team, and there were maybe 30 of us in the class, right? It was small, but not that small. And they asked us to watch this video, and they said, you've got one task, and the task is to just count the number of times the ball is passed. Like, it's super easy. Just count how many passes happen in this 30. Katie's laughing. It means that she has seen the clip. Just count the number of, and we're all like, okay, yeah, whatever. We're relatively smart people. This should be no problem, right? The range of numbers, like when we got to the end and they asked us for the numbers, you guys, it was hilarious. I want to say that it would range from like 20s to like high 40s. Like, it was crazy, the range of numbers that people gave. It was like, did we all just see the same thing? It was literally like a 30-second clip. And then the trainer says, did anybody see the gorilla walk into the middle of the screen and then out the other side? And some people were like, no, I didn't even see a gorilla. And some of us were like, how could you not have seen the gorilla? And so it was just a really great example of how different human brains work and how our brains are brilliant in that we are able to infer and fill in the gaps on a lot of information. But that's the problem. there are gaps, and we infer a lot of information that actually wasn't there, or we miss it entirely. And I remember early in my legal career, reading legal cases where, witnesses were interviewed and 3 witnesses were literally standing on the same corner, saw the same thing, and their accounting of what happened, like let's say in a car accident, was so different. You never got the same story, right? And so just keep that in mind when you think about business, when you think about your client engagements, when you think about building relationships with people in business, is that things go wrong. It's like the game of telephone. Anybody type yes if you've played that ridiculous game of telephone and you get to the end and you literally are laughing out loud because it's so absurd what just came out of somebody's mouth. It's a little bit like that, when we start to fill in the gaps, and it's just human nature to honestly misremember. Even for those of us, I count myself included, that have really great memories, we fill in the gaps, we miss things, we miss details, we misremember. So understand that humans are also not always trying to cause problems. We literally just don't remember, and we fill in the gaps, which means we have more than the normal amount of opportunity for things to go a little bit wrong and to end up having difficult conversations in our business. And this just underscores the importance of having clear contracts, the importance of being clear in our language with what our expectations are, what's going to be, exchanged, etc. And the final point around business contracts is that they can be used to help protect your intellectual property. How many of you know that you have intellectual property inside of your services or your online information, right? Yes, Patrice says yes. Yeah. And we'll go over the intellectual property bucket as well, so we can get more clarity around that. But business contracts are the gatekeepers to that stuff, you guys. So these are great tools to be used if you care about your IP as well.